You found the Iron Rebel, a military sci-fi saga of war, exile, and political deception. If that sounds like your kind of story, hit subscribe and give this video a like. It helps the story reach new rebels like you. Chapter 5. The Assembly Erupts. In the Grand Council Hall, Marcius Kane stood at the edge of the podium, his expression stoic yet tense. His dark uniform, adorned with the insignia of his military rank, set him apart from the civilians in their flowing robes and the council members in their ceremonial sashes. Hovering media drones captured every angle of the chamber, ensuring the proceedings would be broadcast live across the Confederation. At the opposite end of the room, Senators Vale and fiercest prepared for their assault. Vale, composed and calculating, adjusted the collar of his finely tailored suit, his grey eyes scanning the room for potential allies. Tal, fiery and confident, leaned forward, her auburn hair catching the light as she whispered something to a fellow senator. Their alliance, born of mutual ambition, had one goal today: to dismantle Marcius Kane's bid for leadership. "Order in the chamber!" called the presiding councillor, his voice amplified by the chamber's acoustics. The hum of conversation subsided as attention shifted to the podium. "We convene today to address the candidacy of General Marcius Kane and the allegations brought forth by Senators Vale and Tal. General Kane, you have the floor." Marcius stepped forward, his boots echoing against the polished floor. His gaze swept the room, taking in the expectant faces of his audience. His firm voice resonated with the authority of a man who had led countless battles. "Members of the Council, citizens of the Confederation," he began, "I stand before you not as a politician, but as a servant of our people. My vision for the Confederation is simple: unity through strength. We have endured a war that tested the very fabric of our existence, and now we must rebuild. But this rebuilding requires more than the endless debates and bureaucratic inertia that have plagued us for years. It requires discipline, focus, and the courage to make difficult choices." He paused, his words hanging in the air, the room silent but for the faint hum of media drones. "I know what it means to sacrifice," he continued, his voice rising slightly. "I have seen comrades fall in defense of our homes, watched entire systems burn to shield the lives we hold dear. And I ask you, what are we doing to honor those sacrifices? Are we squandering them with indecision and infighting, or are we prepared to take the steps necessary to ensure their loss was not in vain?" Some members of the crowd nodded, their expressions solemn. Others remained impassive, their skepticism palpable. Marcius leaned slightly forward, his intensity sharpening. "This is not a time for petty squabbles of politics," he said. "This is a time for action, rebuilding and ensuring the survival and prosperity of every citizen in the Confederation. Unity is not a suggestion, it is a mandate. Without it, we crumble. Together, we can rise to meet the challenges ahead, but only if we are willing to set aside personal ambitions and focus on the greater good." A murmur ran through the crowd, ripples of agreement and doubt spreading in equal measure. The speech had landed, but the tension in the room was far from resolved. "General Kane," Vale interjected smoothly, rising to his feet. "While your service to the Confederation is commendable, many question whether your methods are suited for governance. Leadership requires empathy and an understanding of the complexities of civilian life. Your recent remarks about the outer rings suggest otherwise." Marcius turned toward Vale, his gaze steely. "I will not deny that my remarks were harsh. But harsh truths are often the ones that need to be spoken. The outer rings, like every part of this Confederation, have a duty to contribute to our rebuilding efforts. This is not about isolating a single region, it is about calling upon all of us to share the burden equally." Vale's grey eyes glinted with satisfaction as he stepped closer to the edge of his platform. "A noble sentiment, General, but one that rings hollow when your words have already alienated the very people you claim to unite." "Governance is not war. It requires compromise, understanding, and yes, humility. Tell me, General, where is your humility?" Before Marcius could reply, Tal stood, her fiery presence commanding attention. "General Kane referred to the people of the Outer Rings as parasites. Is this the rhetoric of a leader who seeks to unify?" or the disdain of a soldier who sees citizens as obstacles. The room grew louder, murmurs rising into a cacophony of voices. Marcius raised a hand, silencing the crowd. His voice, sharp and commanding, cut through the tension. The outer rings have suffered, yes, but suffering does not absolve responsibility. We must all contribute to the rebuilding effort. My words were harsh, but they reflected the truth of our situation. Unity demands sacrifice. Tal's voice was a blade, her tone dripping with disdain. Unity demands respect, General. Respect you have not shown. Respect is earned by citizens of the Confederation. The people of the outer rings must rise to meet the challenges before us. We cannot afford division. The crowd's reaction was immediate. Shouts erupted from the audience, a chaotic mix of support and condemnation. Marcius raised his hand again, his voice booming above the din. I will not apologize for speaking the truth. The Confederation stands on the brink, and we cannot afford weakness. Discipline and action will secure our future, not pandering and empty promises. From the sidelines, Tullis Grev rose, his calm demeanor a stark contrast to the storm brewing around him. If I may, he began, his voice steady and measured. General Kane's passion for the Confederation is undeniable, but passion alone does not suffice. Leadership requires collaboration and a willingness to bridge divides rather than deepen them. Let us remember that our shared goal is the prosperity of all citizens, not victory in an argument. Grev's attempt at mediation did little to quell the growing unrest. Vale stood again, his tone sharp. This assembly is not about passion or discipline. It is about suitability for leadership. General Kane has shown us today that his vision is incompatible with the needs of a recovering Confederation. I move that his candidacy be withdrawn. Tal added her voice to the call, her words carrying the weight of righteous indignation. For the good of the Confederation, we must demand accountability. This is not a battlefield, General. It is the heart of governance, and it requires a leader who understands that. The assembly descended into chaos. Citizens shouted from the gallery, their voices a cacophony of anger and support. Military officials exchanged uneasy glances, their loyalty to Marcius clashing with their awareness of the political storm. In the center of it all, Marcius stood unmoving, his face a mask of controlled fury. The session ended in disarray as the presiding councillor called for order. The crowd spilled into the streets, and protests and rallies erupted almost immediately. Supporters of Marcius clashed with his detractors, and the divide within the Confederation became increasingly visible. In the shadows of the Grand Council Hall, Vale and Tal watched the unfolding chaos with satisfaction. Their plan to dismantle Marcius Kane's bid for leadership was well underway, and the cracks in the Confederation's unity widened with every passing moment. This chapter of the Iron Rebel comes to a close, but the war is far from over. If the story spoke to you, leave a like. It fuels the rebellion. And if you haven't yet, subscribe. New episodes drop every week. Until next time, stay sharp, stay defiant.